All right, you probably guessed, and you guessed correctly, that we're going to look at a couple machines that involve a couple double zeros, because I've cycled back to these ones a few times already, and today is no different. So here you can see two machines, so a deterministic version and a non-deterministic version, and they talk about the exact same language. The language here are going to be all these bit strings that end, or no, this one, they start with double zeros. So you have the deterministic version that if you read a 1 too early, you go off and die. And the non-deterministic, I have to cross on 0, I have to cross on 0, and then do whatever you want to afterwards. I dwell on the non-deterministic ones a little bit here because they make the transition to regular expressions really, really easy. The idea is that I need to see a 0, I need to see a 0, and then I can do whatever I want to afterwards. So I could have a 0, 1, and then star. So it's going to have whatever extra combinations of ones and zeros that you would ever want to. Hopefully you can see like that first 0 connects to that little path, that second 0 connects to that path, and then our spin is then going to be connected to that little 0, 1 star. And that's it. That's all we want to see there, is that this deterministic machine has a non-deterministic version. We also have a regular expression, all talking about the exact same language. So we're all kind of working towards easy ways to describe these things. When it comes to implementation of some of these regular expressions, we're going to begin introducing a couple extra little symbols. So kind of on a whiteboard or on a sheet of paper, I would draw them with these first two ways. So the first one is the 0, 0, and then the 0, 1 star. Officially, if I have my alphabet B, 0, 1, well, I could just write that third term as a giant sigma star, but that's really clunky to type into a keyboard. So what we normally do is we're going to look at one of the bottom two. So we have this 0, 0, and then we're going to have 0 or 1 star with the vertical line. And if your entries happen to, exist one after the other, you can actually say, okay, everything from 0 to 1 star. So that's where the little dash is going to come into play. That makes a little bit more sense once we start talking about letters, is I can have like A through C or A through Z as any possible letter, as long as there's some nice organization between those things. So we have a variety of different ways we can actually write out these regular expressions. The first two are going to be kind of the pencil and paper version of them, and then these bottom ones are going to be how I would actually go about typing one of these things in. So more about that once we actually get into the implementations, but planting those little seeds in your brain as we go forward. All right, so now for the one that I actually said first, which is the machine that ends with 2 zeros. So now we have that machine. So the deterministic one, which has got the, jump back to the beginning if you ever see a 1, and then the non-deterministic one, which just sits and spins at the beginning and then tries to branch out on zeros. And if it can, it's super duper happy, and it ends at an accepting state. Hopefully you can see that it's really, really easy to convert this into a regular expression. You're just going to move the one thing over to the left. So you're going to do whatever you want to in the beginning and then end with 0, 0. As before, if I want to look at some other fancier symbols on how to represent this, we have the drawn on a sheet of paper option or the typed into a computer option. And more about that in a bit. Cool. All right. Third machine is going to be the one that contains the 0, 0, which hopefully you're already bored by this, and you're going to be like, okay, this is really easy. This is going to be 0, 1 star, 0, 0, and then 0, 1 star. And you'd be absolutely correct. You have the spinning on zeros and ones connect to this star operation. The 0, 0 in the middle is then the 0, 0 in the regular expression, and then the spinning on zeros and ones is exactly the 0, 1 star at the end. As before, a couple different options on how to type it out, and rinse and repeat. It gets a little bit more interesting once I have a machine that contains 2 zeros, because we're going to have a few more things in our machine. So by containing 2 zeros, I can sit and spin on 1 as long as I'd want. I advance on 0, I spin on 1 as long as I want, advance on 0, and then do whatever you want to. Officially, this machine is actually deterministic, and going into the world of non-determinicity wouldn't make this thing any more simple. You'd actually have the exact same machine drawn. So these other ones, I drew out a couple of them, but here, the deterministic one was great, so that's all I'm going to work with. So writing this thing out in regular expression land is going to be a what? It's going to spin on 1, a 0, spin on 1, a 0, and then spin on whatever you want to afterwards. So you get this 1 star 0, 1 star 0, and then do whatever you want to after that, which I think is what I should have here as well. Technically, again, copy and pasted some of the other symbols that we can use just to see all of those things come into play. So the next couple of examples, we're actually going to build the machine, create the regular expression, and then we're actually going to use some online tools to actually type out the regular expression and make sure it works the way one would expect it. So we won't just draw them out. We're actually going to create the big old laundry list of testable things and all of the goodies that follow from that.